been really interesting for me to be able to get in and kind of dig in on this old code, but also bring the 20 plus years of experience just in general game development and be like, well, what can we bring to this?
A lot of it was remembering, dredging up memories of how things worked, how mission scripts related to game attributes, related to campaign files to make things occur in game.
I think I did the rough math that GPUs are about 80 times faster, maybe more. So we've wanted to embrace that stuff, to make that stuff be available for the definitive edition.
One of the big things with the original Dawn of War, it is a huge amount of material. There's over 100 maps. There's 4 complete campaigns, 3 of which are playable from multiple perspectives. There's 9 different factions, each with layers of tech tree and technologies and so on. And so figuring out which versions of all of those, how the 4 expansions that had come out under the original Dawn of War banner would relate to each other, how we would present all that content. So it's now much smoother than it ever has been. You launch the game, you hit a campaign button, it presents the 4 campaigns and you load into whichever one you want. You hit skirmish and you have all 9 factions available. You hit multiplayer, you have all 9 factions available.
I really took it on as something like, how can we bring all the little elements of fidelity that were kind of had to be shaved off based on the technical and the machine limitations of the time, and how do we just let more of that be seen in the game? What I wanted to really advance is lighting, because lighting is a thing that has made tremendous leaps over the decades. And so introducing more extended range lighting, image-based lighting, ways in which that we can capture more specular lighting on the objects, because there's so much to Warhammer 40,000 units in terms of their glint and metal, and that we wanted to make sure that those were elements that we could really have shine.
The objectives for art, or at least from my perspective, was remastering all the textures for the environments, starting with upresing and then adding the materials to them, specular, gloss, emissive, all that. Doing it for all the models as well, getting it all in game, relighting all the maps. Once all the lighting came in, the reflections came in, tuning all those variables.
Day-to-day work on the project is digging into each asset one by one, making sure that the textures are up-resed, the additional rendering channels are in place and working with the new lighting. Geometry doesn't need to be changed every single time, but anything that's really obvious gets a fix. 5-sided tank barrels and gun barrels come to mind, and any old existing bugs that we can fix now as part of it is always a plus.
To modernize the assets, we have a lot of hand authoring that's gone into recreating assets or updating them to more modern resolutions. Text is a finicky beast, especially coming from a much older game into a modern game. Engines don't render in the same way as they used to, and text makes that very obvious. So when you find yourself reading things with total ease and the character of the game is maintained in all of the fonts that have been selected, that is a very careful process of authoring to make sure that you don't notice it, but we have much better legibility than you would if you were taking true 4:3 and just smacking it onto your 2K monitor.
One of the things I worked on that I'm hoping everyone else is excited about is on all the Space Marines, where there was once just yellow to represent gold, now there's actually glitzy, shiny, reflective gold.
I'm really happy with what we've been able to do with pathfinding improvements. What we've been able to do even with very simple things like number of units you can issue orders. There's all these little small corner cases that were just not aware to us, but were clear to the community. And it's been really great that they've been able to share that with us to help us make it better for them.
I'm actually quite proud that the Definitive Edition is launching as a 64-bit application. Those in the modding community who've been working with Dawn of War for almost 20 years now will suddenly have a bunch of memory limits removed from their work and have the ability to play larger games, to bring in even more exciting content. So I really think that is an important thing that helps create a foundation for another few decades of amazing fan content.